The closing years of the 13th century were a time of uncertainty across the Middle East and Anatolia. Powerful empires that had once dominated the region were weakening, while new kingdoms struggled to rise from their ruins. The Byzantine Empire, once the greatest force in the eastern Mediterranean, had lost much of its territory. The Seljuk Sultanate of Rum had been shattered by Mongol invasions, leaving Anatolia divided into dozens of small Turkish principalities known as beyliks. Among these small frontier states was one that few believed would change history. It occupied only a modest stretch of land near the Byzantine frontier in northwestern Anatolia. Its population was small, its resources were limited, and it was surrounded by rivals far stronger than itself. Its leader was a tribal chief named Osman I. Born around 1258, Osman inherited leadership from his father, Ertugrul, who had established a small principality under the Seljuk Sultanate. Little contemporary information survives about Osman's early life, and later traditions often blend history with legend. Yet historians agree that he possessed exceptional political and military ability. Osman understood that the weakening Byzantine Empire offered enormous opportunities. Rather than attacking powerful Muslim neighbors, he focused on Byzantine frontier towns and fortresses. His warriors, known as Ghazis, believed they were fighting to expand Muslim territory while also seeking land, wealth, and prestige. Success attracted more followers. Turkish tribes, skilled horsemen, religious scholars, merchants, craftsmen, families seeking new opportunities. As Osman's victories increased, his principality steadily expanded. One of the most significant moments came around 1302, when Osman forces defeated a Byzantine army near the Battle of Baphius. Although relatively small, the victory demonstrated that the Ottomans had become a serious regional power. From this point forward, Byzantine influence in northwestern Anatolia declined rapidly. Before his death around 1324, Osman had laid the foundations of a state that would eventually become one of history's greatest empires. The dynasty would forever bear his name, the Ottomans. Leadership passed to his son, Orhan Gazi. If Osman had been the founder, Orhan became the builder. Recognizing that permanent conquest required more than battlefield victories, Orhan created institutions that transformed a tribal confederation into an organized state. He captured the important city of Bursa in 1326, making it the first major Ottoman capital. Bursa quickly became a center of trade, administration, learning, and Islamic culture. Mosques, markets, schools, and public buildings appeared throughout the growing city. Orhan also introduced regular coinage, improved taxation, and strengthened the military. Most importantly, he created a more disciplined standing army instead of relying solely on tribal warriors. This administrative stability allowed the Ottoman state to expand far more effectively than many neighboring beyliks. Meanwhile, the Byzantine Empire continued weakening. Civil wars divided its leadership. Economic decline reduced its military strength. Instead of acting as an unstoppable empire, Byzantium increasingly struggled simply to survive. The Ottomans took full advantage. During the mid-13th century, they crossed the Dardanelles Strait into southeastern Europe for the first time. This moment permanently changed European history. The Ottoman state was no longer confined to Asia, it had entered the Balkans. Cities such as Gallipoli became important bases for further expansion. Soon afterward, Murad I, who ruled from 1362 to 1389, continued this remarkable growth. Murad moved the Ottoman capital to Edirne, formerly Adrianople, placing the center of government closer to Europe. From there, Ottoman armies expanded into Bulgaria, Serbia, and Macedonia. Many Balkan rulers found themselves unable to resist the disciplined Ottoman military. One reason for Ottoman success was organizational flexibility.
Conquered Christian communities were often allowed to continue practicing their religion in exchange for paying taxes and accepting Ottoman authority. This relatively pragmatic approach encouraged many local populations to cooperate rather than resist continuously. Another important development during Murad's reign was the creation of the Janissaries. These elite infantry soldiers became one of the world's most effective military forces. Many Janissaries were recruited through the devshirme system, under which boys from Christian communities in the Balkans were taken, converted to Islam, educated, and trained for military or administrative service. Although the practice remains controversial today, it produced highly disciplined soldiers and capable government officials whose loyalty was directed toward the Sultan rather than tribal leaders. The Janissaries revolutionized Ottoman warfare. Unlike feudal armies assembled only during campaigns, they formed a permanent professional force. Strict discipline, advanced training, modern weapons, centralized command. These qualities gave the Ottomans a significant advantage over many opponents. Murad's greatest military achievement came during the Battle of Kosovo in 1389. Ottoman forces defeated a coalition led by Serbian nobles in one of the most famous battles in Balkan history. Although Murad himself was assassinated shortly after the battle, the Ottoman victory established long-term dominance across much of southeastern Europe. His son, Bayezid I, known as Bayezid the Thunderbolt, succeeded him. Bayezid earned his nickname through the speed of his military campaigns. Within only a few years, he expanded Ottoman territory dramatically. His armies conquered additional Balkan lands while also campaigning deep into Anatolia. European rulers became increasingly alarmed. In response, a coalition of knights and soldiers from Hungary, France, the Holy Roman Empire, and other Christian states organized a major crusade. The armies met at the Battle of Nicopolis, located in present-day Bulgaria. Many European commanders believed victory would be swift. Instead, Bayezid's disciplined forces decisively defeated the Crusaders. The Battle of Nicopolis shocked Europe. It demonstrated that the Ottomans were no longer simply another frontier kingdom. They had become one of the strongest military powers in the region. After this victory, Bayezid tightened pressure on Constantinople, the Byzantine capital. The once mighty city stood isolated, surrounded by Ottoman-controlled territory. Its fall appeared only a matter of time. Yet history took an unexpected turn. Far to the east, another conqueror was rising. His name was Timur, known in Europe as Tamerlane. Having built a vast empire across Central Asia and Persia, Timur marched westward with one of the most formidable armies of the age. Conflict between Timur and Bayezid became unavoidable. In 1402, the two rulers met at the Battle of Ankara. The result was catastrophic for the Ottomans. Timur's forces defeated Bayezid's army after several allied contingents deserted during the battle. Bayezid himself was captured. He died in captivity the following year. The defeat nearly destroyed the Ottoman state. Timur occupied much of Anatolia before eventually returning east. With Bayezid gone, his sons fought one another in a prolonged civil war known as the Ottoman Interregnum. For more than a decade, rival princes competed for control of the empire. Many observers believed the Ottoman experiment had come to an end. European kingdoms celebrated. The Byzantine Empire enjoyed a brief period of relief. Former Ottoman territories declared independence. Yet, despite enormous challenges, the Ottoman state survived. In 1413, Mehmed I finally reunited the divided realm. Patiently rebuilding administration, restoring military discipline, and reconciling rival factions, he rescued the dynasty from collapse. His achievements ensured that Osman's small frontier principality would not disappear into history. Instead, it would recover stronger than ever. His successor, Murad II, continued expanding Ottoman power in both Europe and Anatolia. By the middle of the 15th century, The empire once again stood as the dominant force in the Balkans. Only one great prize remained unconquered: the ancient city of Constantinople. Protected by its legendary walls for nearly 1,000 years, it had survived countless sieges and invasions. But a young Ottoman prince named Mehmed II believed its time had finally come. His determination would lead to one of the most famous sieges in world history and transform the Ottoman Empire into a global superpower. The young Prince Mehmed II was only 21 years old when he became Sultan for the second time in 1451. Many European rulers believed he lacked the experience to threaten their kingdoms. They underestimated him. From childhood, Mehmed had been fascinated by one city above all others: Constantinople. For more than 1,000 years, it had been the capital of the Byzantine Empire and one of the richest, most heavily fortified cities in the world. Protected by the famous Theodosian walls, Constantinople had resisted Persians, Arabs, Bulgars, Rus, and countless other invaders. To Mehmed, conquering the city was not simply a military objective, it was a dream. He believed that whoever controlled Constantinople would control the gateway between Europe and Asia. Immediately after taking the throne, Mehmed began preparing for the greatest siege of his age. He strengthened the Ottoman navy. He expanded his army to nearly 80,000, 100,000 soldiers, including thousands of elite Janissaries. He also commissioned enormous bronze cannons from the Hungarian engineer Orban. These weapons were unlike anything Europe had ever seen. One of the largest cannons reportedly required dozens of oxen and hundreds of men just to transport it. Meanwhile, the Byzantine Empire stood on the edge of collapse. Its territory had shrunk to little more than Constantinople and a few scattered possessions. Emperor Constantine XI Palaeologus desperately appealed to Christian kingdoms for help. Some volunteers arrived from Venice, Genoa, and other Italian states, but no great European army came to rescue the city. On April 6, 1453, the siege began. For 53 days, Ottoman cannons pounded the massive walls. Again and again, defenders repaired the damage overnight. The city refused to fall. Mehmed then made one of the boldest strategic decisions in military history. The Byzantines had blocked the entrance to the Golden Horn with a giant iron chain, preventing Ottoman warships from entering the harbor. Instead of attacking the chain directly, Mehmed ordered his engineers to build a wooden road across the hills north of the harbor. Hundreds of ships were pulled overland on greased logs. When the people of Constantinople awoke the next morning, Ottoman ships were already inside the Golden Horn. The impossible had happened. The city was now threatened from two directions. Finally, on May 29, 1453, after weeks of relentless attacks, Ottoman forces launched their final assault. Wave after wave of soldiers advanced toward the walls. After fierce fighting, the defenders were overwhelmed. Emperor Constantine XI is believed to have died fighting alongside his soldiers. After more than 1,100 years, the Byzantine Empire came to an end. The fall of Constantinople changed world history. For the Ottomans, it marked a new era. Mehmed entered the city and declared it the new capital of his empire. Constantinople gradually became known as Istanbul, transforming into one of the world's greatest political, commercial, and cultural centers. Rather than destroying the city, Mehmed ordered its reconstruction. Churches, markets, schools, mosques, baths, libraries, and palaces were built or restored. People from different religions and ethnic backgrounds were encouraged to settle there. Within decades, Istanbul had become one of the largest and wealthiest cities on earth. Mehmed II earned the title the Conqueror. During the following decades, Ottoman armies expanded into Serbia, Bosnia, Albania, Greece, and the Black Sea region. The empire was rapidly becoming a major world power. After Mehmed's death, later sultans continued expanding Ottoman territory. The greatest of them was Suleiman I, remembered as Suleiman the Magnificent in Europe, and Kanuni, meaning the lawgiver, within the Ottoman world. Ascending the throne in 2020, Suleiman inherited a powerful empire. He transformed it into a global superpower. Under his leadership, Ottoman armies captured Belgrade in 1521. The following year, they conquered the island of Rhodes, removing one of the last major Christian military strongholds in the eastern Mediterranean. In 1526, Suleiman defeated the Kingdom of Hungary at the Battle of Mohács, one of the most decisive battles in European history. The Hungarian army was crushed in only a few hours. King Louis II died during the retreat. Much of Hungary came under Ottoman control. The victory opened the road towards Central Europe. 3 years later, Ottoman forces reached the gates of Vienna. Although the first siege of Vienna in 1529 ultimately failed because of weather, logistical challenges, and strong defenses, the campaign demonstrated how close the Ottoman Empire came to expanding deep into Central Europe. At sea, Ottoman naval power reached extraordinary heights. Commanders such as Hayreddin Barbarossa dominated much of the Mediterranean. Ottoman fleets challenged Spain, Venice, and other European naval powers. The Mediterranean increasingly became an Ottoman sphere of influence. Beyond military success, Suleiman proved to be an outstanding administrator. He strengthened the legal system, improved taxation, encouraged trade, supported architecture, literature, education, and science. His legal reforms became known collectively as the Kanun, complementing Islamic law and helping govern a vast multicultural empire. One of the greatest symbols of this golden age was the work of the master architect Mimar Sinan. His magnificent mosques, bridges, schools, aqueducts, and public buildings transformed Ottoman cities. The Süleymaniye Mosque in Istanbul remains one of the finest achievements of Islamic architecture. The Ottoman Empire became home to people from many different backgrounds: Turks, Arabs, Greeks, Armenians, Kurds, Albanians, Serbs, Bosnians, Jews, and many others. Rather than forcing complete cultural uniformity, the Ottomans developed the millet system, allowing many religious communities to govern their own internal affairs under their religious leaders. This approach helped maintain stability across an empire stretching over 3 continents. Trade flourished. Merchants traveled safely along routes connecting Europe, Asia, and Africa. Silk, spices, coffee, textiles, metals, luxury goods, everything passed through Ottoman markets. Istanbul became one of the busiest commercial cities in the world. By the late 16th century, the Ottoman Empire controlled territories in southeastern Europe, Anatolia, the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of the Arabian Peninsula. It stood alongside the Spanish Empire, the Ming Dynasty, and the Mughal Empire as one of the world's dominant powers. Yet beneath this remarkable success, subtle challenges were beginning to emerge. The Janissaries gradually became politically influential. Court rivalries increased. European nations were advancing rapidly in science, navigation, finance, and military technology. New sea routes around Africa reduced the importance of traditional overland trade controlled by the Ottomans. The empire remained powerful, but the balance of global power was slowly beginning to change. These early signs would eventually grow into deeper problems. Over the next 3 centuries, the Ottoman Empire would face repeated wars, internal corruption, nationalist uprisings, and increasing pressure from expanding European powers. The empire that had conquered Constantinople and dominated 3 continents would soon begin its long and difficult journey toward decline. During the 17th century, the Ottoman Empire remained one of the largest and most powerful states in the world. Its territory stretched from the gates of Vienna in Central Europe to the deserts of Arabia, from the mountains of the Caucasus to the coast of North Africa. Millions of people from different religions, languages, and cultures lived under Ottoman rule. But beneath this impressive appearance, serious problems were beginning to grow. After the death of Suleiman the Magnificent in 1566, many later sultans lacked his political and military leadership. While some rulers were capable, others left government affairs to palace officials and powerful advisors. At the same time, the once elite Janissaries gradually became a political force. Originally created as a disciplined professional army, many Janissaries began resisting military reforms. They became involved in palace politics, sometimes even overthrowing or influencing sultans. Corruption increased. Government positions were sometimes awarded through favoritism rather than merit. Economic pressures also intensified. European explorers had discovered new sea routes around Africa, allowing merchants to bypass Ottoman-controlled land routes between Europe and Asia. As Atlantic trade expanded, the Ottoman Empire lost some of its traditional commercial importance. Inflation, rising military costs, and financial difficulties placed increasing pressure on the government. Meanwhile, European powers entered a period of rapid scientific and technological progress. The scientific revolution, followed by the Industrial Revolution, transformed manufacturing, transportation, and military technology. Countries such as Britain, France, Austria, and Russia modernized their armies and economies more quickly than the Ottoman Empire. One of the most important turning points came in 1683. The Ottomans launched their second siege of Vienna, hoping to capture the Habsburg capital and expand further into Central Europe. Once again, Vienna held out. A relief army led by King John III Sobieski of Poland defeated the Ottoman forces. The failed siege marked the end of Ottoman expansion into Europe. From that point onward, the empire gradually shifted from conquest to defense. Over the following centuries, the Ottomans lost territory through a series of wars against Austria and Russia. The Balkans became increasingly unstable. Nationalist movements emerged among Greeks, Serbs, Bulgarians, Romanians, and other peoples who sought independence. One major milestone came during the Greek War of Independence. After years of fighting, Greece gained independence in the late 1830s, becoming the first major territory to break away from Ottoman rule in the modern era. Its success inspired other nationalist movements throughout the Balkans. Recognizing the need for change, Ottoman leaders launched major reforms known as the Tanzimat reforms between 1839 and 1776. These reforms aimed to modernize the military, legal system, education, and government administration. New schools were established. Railways and telegraph lines expanded. Laws were updated. Citizens of different religions were promised greater legal equality. Although important, the reforms faced strong resistance from conservative groups and could not fully solve the empire's growing challenges. European diplomats increasingly referred to the Ottoman Empire as the sick man of Europe. The phrase reflected the belief that the empire was weakening while European powers competed for influence over its territories. The 19th century brought repeated crises. Russia sought greater access to warm water ports. Britain and France wished to protect trade routes to India. Austria expanded its influence in the Balkans. The Ottoman government found itself caught between competing great powers. In the early 20th century, instability intensified. The Young Turk Revolution of 1908 restored the Ottoman constitution and attempted to modernize the government further. However, political divisions remained. Only a few years later, the Balkan Wars of 1912 to 1913 resulted in devastating territorial losses. The empire lost nearly all of its remaining European possessions, except a small area around Istanbul. Then came the greatest catastrophe of all, World War I. In 1914, the Ottoman Empire entered the war on the side of Germany and Austria-Hungary. The conflict spread across the Middle East, the Caucasus, and the Dardanelles. One of the most famous campaigns was the Gallipoli campaign, where Ottoman forces successfully defended the strategically important Dardanelles against Allied invasion. A talented commander named Mustafa Kemal, later known as Ataturk, emerged as one of the heroes of Gallipoli. Despite several military successes, the overall war turned against the Central Powers. By 1918, Germany and its allies had been defeated. The Ottoman Empire signed the Armistice of Mudros, effectively ending its participation in the war. Allied forces occupied parts of the empire. The Treaty of Sèvres proposed dividing Ottoman territory among the victorious powers and creating new states. For many Turks, the treaty represented national humiliation. Mustafa Kemal refused to accept it. He organized the Turkish War of Independence, leading nationalist forces against occupying armies. Between 1919 and 1922, his movement achieved a series of decisive victories. The nationalist government replaced the old Ottoman administration. On November 1, 1922, the Ottoman Sultanate was officially abolished. The last Sultan, Mehmed VI, left Istanbul aboard a British warship. An empire that lasted for more than 6 centuries had come to an end. The following year, on October 29, 1923, the Republic of Turkey was officially proclaimed. Mustafa Kemal became its first president. He later received the surname Ataturk, meaning Father of the Turks. Ataturk introduced sweeping reforms. The legal system was modernized. Religious institutions were separated from the state. Education was expanded. The Arabic script was replaced with a Latin-based Turkish alphabet. Women gained greater legal rights. The new republic looked toward modernization and national sovereignty rather than imperial expansion. Although the Ottoman Empire disappeared, its legacy remains visible across 3 continents. Its architecture still defines the skylines of cities such as Istanbul, Sarajevo, Jerusalem, and Damascus. Magnificent structures like the Blue Mosque, Topkapi Palace, and the Suleimaniye Mosque continue to attract millions of visitors every year. Ottoman influence survives in food, music, language, literature, law, and culture throughout the Balkans, the Middle East, and North Africa. The empire also played a crucial role in connecting Europe, Asia, and Africa through trade and diplomacy for centuries. Historians continue to debate its legacy. Some emphasize its long periods of stability, administrative sophistication, religious diversity, and cultural achievements. Others point to military conquest, political repression, and conflicts that shaped the modern Middle East and the Balkans. Both perspectives are essential to understanding its history. The Ottoman Empire began as a small frontier principality under Osman I. Through determination, military innovation, and effective leadership, it grew into one of the greatest empires in human history. It conquered Constantinople, ruled vast territories for over 600 years, and influenced the lives of millions of people. Its eventual decline reminds us that even the strongest empires face challenges they cannot overcome forever. Yet its cultural, political, and architectural legacy continues to shape the modern world. The rise and fall of the Ottoman Empire remains one of history's most extraordinary stories, a journey from a small Anatolian beylik to a global superpower, and finally to the birth of the modern Republic of Turkey, proving that while empires may fade, their influence can endure for centuries.